What is going on, party people, and welcome to episode 19 of the Captain's Log. My name is Kyle Springer, and this week I am joined by two wonderful ladies here at the Whatnauts. First and foremost, Jess Bever. Welcome back.
Hi, hello, thanks.
Yeah, and for the first time ever, Belinda Garcia.
Hi, guys.
On the podcast. Welcome. It's so, Jess, I said welcome back. You recorded with us last week as well. Unfortunately, we had so much technical difficulties on that one, even after recording it.
Oh my goodness.
We couldn't put that episode out, so we lost that entire thing.
No. That sounds awful.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Eric sent me his thing, and it was only the first 8 minutes. And we recorded for like an hour and a half. And then I was like, oh, it's fine. This is why I do redundant recordings. Hopefully we can at least salvage something. And sure enough, I went to go look for the redundant recording, and it was nowhere to be found. So that was no fun. We had a fantastic episode too, so crazy stuff is happening. We're starting a little bit later than we normally do as well, again, because of technical difficulties, but I think everything is working now. So welcome if you guys are joining us live on Twitch. You guys can be watching this every single week on thewhatnauts.com/live streams or on twitch.tv/thewhatnauts. And if you guys can't make that, that is A-okay. It'll be up on YouTube and as a podcast the following week. So yeah, you guys got no worrying to do. No worrying. Well, yeah. Let's hang out. Let's get to know one another.
Let's hang out.
Yeah. Belinda, this is
Yes.
I mentioned it kind of before we started recording. This is like the first time that you and I have ever actually had a conversation besides like business logistical
so exciting
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, we saved our first introductions for a podcast so everybody can join in on that. Yeah, it's so great to be here. Yeah, Kyle's been trying to get me on the podcast for months now, and I've just never been available on Fridays at 2:30 until now. And I took the opportunity and I went on Discord and I was like, Kyle, like, book me. I'm coming on. Like,
let's make this happen.
Don't worry. Yep, let's make it happen. We've got it, and we're here. So really, really, really great to be here.
There you go. And by the way, Melissa right now is in the chat. She's one of our other co-hosts. She says, hello, everyone. She is
Hi, Melissa.
Packing up because she is moving.
Yay.
Moving to a new
Sounds exciting.
apartment.
Moving is so frustrating.
It's stressful.
Yes, and
It is the
being
worst.
a big fan of physical media and having lots of books and movies and games and things to move. And I'm also very stubborn. I won't get rid of any of them. So that's always fun.
Yep. I think I have 6 long boxes of single issues. It's a lot of stuff.
Oh, that's a lot. We just moved in May, which doesn't seem like that long ago, but my boyfriend and I and one of our college friends moved from an apartment where it was just me and Cody to a house, which is super exciting, but we also remodeled everything. So Cody got the house on May 3rd, and I think we moved in June 10th, and we did redo all the floors and scrape the ceilings because they were popcorn ceilings. And so we're still, like, just getting settled in because when we moved in, everything was, like, in the middle of our living room because we still had to do the trim. And so we just last week had a housewarming party, and we're still sort of getting settled in, making those IKEA trips and everything. It's a hassle.
That is a lot of work. I'm also in a house that's kind of been set up. I mean, it's the house I'm in, the basement is supposedly a separate apartment, even though they haven't really separated it. And it's an older apartment, and so we're like slowly trying to do work, but it's also like we're like, hey, landlord, you should help us out because this really shouldn't be our responsibility. This is no fun. You should do all the stuff you said you were gonna do.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah, but we're like, okay, we need to like hire a gardener. How much is that gonna be? Like, let's make the house look like we're not college kids anymore.
Yeah, I have a lot of art that I still need to put up, like just so many posters and things that I want to hang up that I just haven't yet, and they're just sitting there waiting for me to put them up. And we also moved in at the end of May too, so I'm slowly putting things up. Also, like, I want to frame everything because it just looks nicer, and it looks like you put more effort into putting this stuff on your wall. And so that's one step, is I have to go get frames. Well, I have to measure everything, then go get frames, and then put it up. And it just haven't done any of that yet.
Yeah,
but
and
I will.
That gets expensive too.
Yes,
to
it
buy
does.
all that stuff. So crazy stuff. So best of luck to Melissa in the move. She's been slowly packing up all month. And actually, Jess, you are going to be substituting for her with me on the review show this next episode. Yeah.
Yes, that's the thing I'm doing.
So
you said my name and I was like, oh.
Yeah, we're gonna be reading a graphic novel called Iron or the War After. I had never heard of this book until this past week, and I found it on Comixology Unlimited, and it looks beautiful. It's all this like watercolor.
Ooh.
Like it's watercolor, but it's really stark, and it has this mix of like Miyazaki and Legend of Korra style artwork to it.
Sounds like my cup of tea.
Yeah, it looks fantastic, and it's an anthropomorphic like spy drama. So I'm like, hell yes, sign me up. That sounds fantastic. But that should be out once this goes public for everyone to listen to. That episode should be available a few days after this. So be on the lookout for that.
Woo.
Hell yes.
Nobody can see me, but I'm doing a little dance.
So, Jess, last week you mentioned that you were looking for a new job.
Yeah.
Have you found anything yet? How's that been going?
It's again, nobody can see me, but I'm almost like laughing. It's not going super great. I've applied to like 20 jobs, 13 of which are in the school district that I live in alone for like secretary positions. I had one interview last Wednesday, or this Wednesday, because today is Friday. It was real weird. I used to work at a museum that I really enjoyed, and I have a degree in history, but my first background is in retail because I worked at a comic shop for 3.5 years. And so I've been very hesitant to go back to retail, but there was an assistant manager position open somewhere for like a place that sells phones, and I was like, okay, that might not be terrible, and it's assistant manager, so like that looks good on a resume. So they invited me to interview, and I was like, I'm gonna go interview even if I don't think I want it, just because it's good practice, and maybe it'll turn out to be okay.
Better to have something rather than nothing too,
right? Yeah, that too. And so I went in for this interview. Turns out it's in their warehouse, and I just want to say the guy who interviewed me was super nice. It was immediately clear to me that there are very few women who work for that place, because the desk immediately to the left of the door had a big bottle of whiskey underneath it that was very visible, and then another desk had like a vape pen on it, and another desk just had like some dude's keys and sunglasses, and I was like, oh, I don't know about this.
Good, clean family fun. What are you talking about? Whiskey everywhere? Like, sounds good to me.
Like, it is their warehouse, so I get it. It's not customer facing, but I was like, but you knew you were going to interview somebody.
Yeah.
So, probably won't take that one. And I've got a phone interview for something next Wednesday, so all like secretary stuff. But if I don't get something soon, it's been like 2 weeks, I will probably jump back into retail just for like a month or so while I find other stuff.
Yeah. Well, best of luck.
Thank you.
Good luck.
All the good vibes.
Yes. been applying like crazy. So it's just a matter of somebody who's like, she seems interesting.
Yeah. I'm kind of stuck at the job that I have. I love it and I hate it. It is the most boring thing ever, but I can sit there and kind of goof off if I don't have anything to do. So I sit there and like read comics and listen to podcasts and stuff like that. And they pay me to do that. So
Great.
Sounds awesome.
yeah.
Yeah, my old job was a mix of like, oh, sorry, trying not to cough into the mic. It's still really smoky here in Washington. My old job was this interesting mix. It was customer service because it was a museum, but it wasn't retail. And so I was like, I love this and I love working with kids, but people have no respect for me. So that was not so great.
Yeah. Now you mentioned it was smoky. You're up in Seattle area, Olympia. Where are you at?
Yeah, so for anybody living outside of Washington, I'm in Seattle. For people living in Washington, I'm in Federal Way, which is about 45 minutes to an hour south of Seattle, depending on traffic. And there's nothing here but Asian restaurants, which is great. Those are super good, but that's that and like a bowling alley and a movie theater. There was a circus the other day in the mall parking lot.
Interesting.
That was kind of neat. Didn't go.
But I asked because Belinda, you're in LA, right? Am I?
No. I'm in, for people living in California, I'm in Emeryville. For people not, I'm right outside San Francisco.
There you go.
Yeah, so I am in Northern California, but it's still, there are fires everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's been going on for a while, and the ones that were up like by Sonoma and such about last year, those got really close to my parents' house, actually. And so my siblings and I had to go and like pack up the house and evacuate it because my parents were in Europe at the time. Yeah, it was
crazy.
Kind of like an insane week. We had to like go grab the dogs and my brother and like pack up the house. It was kind of nuts, but thankfully it didn't get too close. It got about 2 miles from their house.
That's pretty like close.
Yeah, and because there's just a bunch of hills. It's just a bunch of just very flammable hills that house is near, and that's the house I lived in like since like before I moved out here, like since the 5th grade. So
oh wow,
yeah, it was kind of frightening to like think about. Like I have my old bedroom and all my high school journals and my yearbooks and all this like very nostalgic stuff. I'm like, do I haul it all out of here? And just lots of pictures and stuff. So that was like very emotional and like trip down memory lane type of thing. But yeah, I have terrible asthma, so the smoke in the air has not been friendly to me. But I'm okay now. But it got really bad a few months ago when like the fires were a little bit closer to me then. But yeah, it's rough.
Yeah, I'm on the East Coast. I'm in Richmond, Virginia. And so I mean, there's absolutely nothing near us. But my parents are out in Wyoming, and it's smoky out where they are.
Wow.
So yeah, like it's gone all the way up into the Rockies and stuff. So they're like, yeah, we can normally see the mountains from our house, and we can't even see them now. So
oh no,
yeah, crazy stuff happening around the world.
Yeah, only like the right half of Washington State is on fire right now. Not so much the left half, but all the ash is everywhere. And I think the funniest thing has been seeing people's reactions. There was somebody in Spokane, which is on the eastern side of the state, that organized an event where they wanted everybody in Spokane to put at least 5 box fans on their roof and then blow the smoke out to sea. Or like back up into Canada, and then there's
everyone just takes a deep breath at the same time.
And there's been this Facebook event that's like everybody. It's an ongoing one. It's like throw rocks at the smoke to make it go away, which is total BS. But we are all hating it, but we finally got a little bit of rain yesterday, and I think I almost cried tears of joy.
That's awesome.
It was very exciting.
Good news. Good news. Well, I have a couple questions kind of for Belinda, since I mentioned, since I've not gotten to speak with you. I've been following you on Twitter now for a couple months, so I've gotten to know you kind of through Twitter. But that it's one of those things. It's like you never really know someone just based off of their social media stuff. But yeah, I've been trying to get you on the show for what seems like months now.
Yes.
And you've been a very busy woman. At one point, you went to 3 conventions back to back.
Yeah, I've been all over the place recently.
Tell me a bit about it. What all have you done this summer?
So let's start with like the very first convention I ever went to with San Diego Comic-Con, just because when I was younger, I was like, when I turn 21, I'm going to start to go every year. And nice. I've been doing that for the past, I think this is the 4th year. I'm turning 25. Yep, that sounds right. So I went to that in July. Oh, wait. That was not my first one. Before that, in June, I went to E3.
Exactly.
Okay, so in June, I went to E3, and this was my first time going with the Geeks of Color team as media, and it was absolutely amazing. I actually got to sit down at the Xbox conference. So that was kind of like a magical thing for me. Also because, I've played Halo since forever, since like I can even remember. And I just to be sitting there and being like, I cannot believe like that I'm here right now, just like the whole course of my life. And I didn't think they were going to announce anything for Kingdom Hearts 3, which is Kingdom Hearts is my favorite game of all time.
Amen.
And I they usually save any announcements for the PlayStation conference or the Square Enix conference. And I was like, oh yeah, it's Xbox. We'll just see some really cool stuff. And then they went ahead and made this announcement. They're like, this IP is coming to Xbox for the first time. And I couldn't breathe. I was like, what is happening? I wasn't ready for this. I didn't mentally prepare for this. I didn't physically prepare for this. And I'm in tears because it was just, oh my God, I can't believe it. It was
more people amazing. Can play this game and be absolutely confused by the storyline with the rest of us.
Yeah. And so that was kind of, a memory that I'm going to hold with me forever. That's was awesome. Really, really, really great. Other than that, so Geeks of Color also works remotely. We're all from different places, and that was the first time I had met members of our team in person. Cool. That was like a really great experience. They have now become my family, and we went to all these events together, demoed a bunch of games together, and got really close. And so they are really, really great. If you have any time, check them out. Awesome. They're all really great.
What's the website?
It's just on Twitter. It's at Geeks of Color. And then the website is geeksofcolor.co, I believe.
And they have a podcast as well, right?
We do. So the flagship podcast, the Geeks of Color podcast, they are actually starting back up again. I think they're releasing an episode next week. But I am pretty active on our gaming podcast called Game Boys of Color.
There you go.
Yes. So also go check that out if you like podcasts too. We're on iTunes and Spotify and sometimes Google Play. Technical difficulties happen, so I don't know about this last
very
episode.
Well.
Yeah. And then so E3, then I went to San Diego Comic-Con just for fun because I always I love San Diego Comic-Con, and for the past couple of years, I've really been going to just hunt down my favorite comic creators and kind of just get a chance to talk to them and tell them how much I love them. So Robbie Thompson, who's the writer for Silk, who love him. I actually see him every year, and I'm just like, hi, me again. What's up? We miss Silk. Did you hear the Silk news? Blah, blah, blah. And just talk to him a little bit. This year I got to meet Marjorie Liu, who writes Monstrous.
That's awesome.
And this year's Eisners, I actually got to catch her the day after she was the first woman to win Best Writer.
Yeah.
And that was a huge deal to me, being a writer and studying writing, because it just like blew my mind. Like, I was in tears. They took home a bunch of awards, including like I think Best Cover Artist and Best Interior Artist, because that book is gorgeous. It is so freaking gorgeous. Like I like can't believe like that is the longest I've ever taken to read a graphic novel, because it's just I'm just like oogling like every page every time. So yeah, I met them, and then like I think last year I met Brian Lee O'Malley and Leslie Hung for Slot Girl.
Nice.
Robert Kirkman I've run into a couple times and had him sign like my issue 100 of The Walking Dead and stuff like that. So I really just run around and do that. Sometimes when I have time, I make stuff and I cosplay, but that's been on hiatus for a little bit because time is a thing.
Okay.
And yeah, so that's fun. And what else? And then we went to RTX, and that was amazing. Yeah, it's super, super great. RTX is, in a way, sometimes my favorite convention, because I feel like the Rooster Teeth community is very intimate. And it's a really great convention. Again, the first time I was there as media with Geeks of Color team, and they were just so friendly and amazing, and the PR team was so great, and everybody we met and talked to was super, super, super great. And yeah, and then so the next event for GOC will be New York Comic Con, which is coming up in October. Yeah, so we'll be flying out there. We've got like our place booked, our flights are booked, and we're gonna be running around there. So if you want to see me or any of them, we will be there.
Sounds good.
Will you be there?
I won't. I am broke and have no money to go to any conventions. But hopefully this next year I'll start to get to go to some. I would love to make it out to RTX. And one of I think I want to go to San Diego ComicCon just to say that I'll have like that I've been to that one.
Yeah.
But I kind of want to go to Emerald City. Like, I feel like that's a better convention. I hear it's more like it's not as I don't even know what the right word for it is, but it is more of an actual Comic-Con, whereas San Diego is like Entertainment Con.
Correct. Yeah. So I've been meaning to eventually make it out to Emerald City Comic Con, just because that's what I've heard about it. But the kind of good thing, so San Diego Comic Con is like basically now like a pop culture convention.
Yeah.
Like it's, the biggest movies and the biggest TV shows and the biggest stars are there, and that's all really great, but you will not get any FaceTime with them because they're, everybody's there for that, which is kind of a blessing to people who want to run around and like talk to writers like me. Yeah. So because like there is a huge comic section, but it's not maybe as popular as like the pop culture section, which like, benefits me because I get to spend more time with like the people that I really want to talk to and get this FaceTime with and ask them questions and tell them how much this means to me and like blah, blah, blah. And so that's kind of the I don't want to say good thing about San Diego Comic-Con is that it is more pop culture focused. But I do like, it is a goal of mine to make it out to Emerald City. So maybe next year we can both go, right? And then we can go there and have a good time.
Yeah, hopefully.
And you and Eric.
Yeah.
And Eric, right.
We could just have a cool...
And Melissa should start saving up so she can come as well.
Yes.
And then we can
Yeah, I was going to say, as a Seattleite, and as somebody who's been to Emerald City, I think twice, I really like it. One, Seattle is the frickin' bee's knees.
I love Seattle. I've been there twice.
Great.
I almost moved out towards that area a couple years ago, but it didn't work out.
It's fantastic. It's an exhausting commute, but I like Seattle a lot, and I like Emerald City Comic-Con because it's something I don't really I don't go to Comic-Cons very often. I've been to Emerald City, and I've been to Rose City. And I only went to Rose City because it was my little sister's birthday, and the Weasley twins were going to be there. I'm a huge Harry Potter nerd, so it was like the whole reason we went. We met them. They were the sweetest people.
Oh, my goodness.
But it's overwhelming for me. I'm a people person, but it's a lot. Comic-Cons are a lot of people, and I just want to buy all of the art. But, don't have time.
Take one of everything.
/ money. Yeah. But, I really loved Emerald City. I got some cool stuff there, including a print that was specialized to Seattle. It's got the Space Needle and the Great Wheel, and it was really cool. And I think that's where I got to see Jen Bartel and Kate Leth again, but that also might have been Rose City. I can't remember. I just remember that I lost my shit.
I met them last year and absolutely lost my shit.
I am a huge fan of both of them, and I have a huge crush on both of them. Eric was with us when I met Kate Leth, and I was just I was shaking a little, I did not have my comm. I was buying a pin from her, and she was like, "Oh, I think I had that same haircut and color when I was 23," and I was like, "Ah!" And
Damn.
Then we walked away, and Eric is, a photographer, and he's like, "I was going to offer to take your picture with her, but I think you might have died." And I was like, "Yep, I probably would have." And
I
another one of my friends.
have a picture. I think I have a picture with her, but Jen Bartel, I could not use words. I was just
Her artwork is amazing.
Yeah, and she had a booth, and it was one of those things where you're looking for the number of the booth, and you don't know where it is, and then all of a sudden you're in front of her, and you're like, and you're just oh, what are words? And I don't. Oh my god,
I just point at what you want.
Yeah, just
please.
This, and I brought this comic. It's you did this. I just didn't, and then I walked away, and then so I for sure do not have a picture with her. And my boyfriend was like, "Don't you wanna?" And I was like, "Oh, I can't. Just let me go. I can't."
Yeah, they are
so
both
funny.
Fantastic.
Oh my god, they're so great.
So great.
I've only ever been to really, really small conventions. There was a Wizard World that came to Richmond, and it was, they take over the convention center, but it's still nothing like New York Comic-Con or San Diego Comic-Con or anything like that. And then there was another one here that was literally in the lobby of a hotel. That's how tiny it was.
I totally, there's a small one that happens in Oakland called Crackin Con, and that was a very, very, very small one, but it happened around October. So I sewed together a little sister from BioShock cosplay and went, and it was pretty nice because it was bleak and dreary outside. So I was like, this is super great. But there's one in Sacramento called Sac Anime, and that one is very near and dear to my heart. It's a little smaller. It isn't a convention center, but super fun to just drive up, have a cosplay for the day, and hang out. So I love small conventions too.
There you go. Did you guys see this thing about San Diego Comic-Con suing Salt Lake City Comic-Con or something like that?
Was it because
Why?
they copyrighted Comic-Con?
I think so, yeah.
It's one of the stupidest things I've ever heard.
Which is strange because I heard about it actually earlier today, and then I Googled it just to like look up stuff, and I'm seeing stuff from last year. Like this was a thing that happened last year, not
Oh my goodness.
recently. But yeah, there's some weird thing that the name Comic-Con is actually trademarked, and so anyone who's not San Diego technically can't call it Comic-Con. I don't know.
I'm looking at it right now. I guess it was ruled in SDCC's favor. But yeah, violating copyright law with their use of the term Comic-Con. That's
So
great.
weird.
Yeah, I remember seeing it about a year ago come up, and I was like, that's the stupidest thing ever. Nobody's going to award San Diego Comic-Con trademark for the word Comic-Con because everybody uses it. And then they did. And I was like, what are you doing? And what I've noticed this year with all the cons is that it looks like San Diego is the only one that can call itself just Comic-Con, not like... Because I've seen, like, Emerald City Comic-Con is still Emerald City Comic-Con.
And New York.
San Diego, I've
Yeah.
seen them... Yeah, and Rose City. I've seen San Diego call themselves just Comic-Con. They're like, are you going to Comic-Con? And they mean, like, them. So I think that that's how they've got it trademarked, but you can still use it afterwards. Because I feel like if they made a big deal out of getting the trademark, they're going to get on everybody's cases for using it, but they haven't done that.
It's weird.
So I don't know.
It's so weird, right?
Bunch of nerds, man.
Yeah.
I know.
That's strange to me.
Yeah.
No, Belinda, you mentioned the Game Boys of Color podcast earlier. I was listening to an episode of Kind of Funny Games Daily, and Greg mentioned that he was hoping to get one of you guys on, I think.
Oh, yeah.
I messaged you in our Discord thing. I don't know if you saw it, but he was like, I met someone from the Geeks of Color website, and they do a podcast, and we're hoping to get them on eventually, maybe someday, who knows?
Yeah,
I was like, oh my god, I know them.
Yeah, so that Greg is actually, that's a really funny story. So at RTX, they had a comedy show where a bunch of people did stand-up comedy.
Did you get to watch the documentary?
I haven't watched the documentary because we were doing interviews during the RT Docs panel where they did screen it.
Okay.
I really want to watch it.
I do too.
Very, very badly. And, but yeah, so Greg was there and kind of met him. Me and Jordan and Amber, who I was there at RTX with, we're all in the gaming part and all do news reporting for Geeks of Color. So yeah, we met with him and chatted with him, and it was pretty cool. You know, saw him kind of that whole night, met his wife, Jen, who was also really amazing.
She's fantastic. Yeah.
She's so great. And they're both really great. And kind of just hung out, chatted with him throughout the night. And then the next day, so what I did this year is I kind of double dutied as a guardian, like an RTX guardian, because I did that last year and loved volunteering. And so when we were coming as media this year, I was like, I can do both because that's what I try to do is help everybody. And so I kind of went in the next day. And one of my fellow guardians, his name is Corey, very great. And he was like, hey, did you talk to Greg Miller last night? And I was like, why? I was so confused. He's like, yeah, he talked about you guys at the Kind of Funny panel. And I was like, huh? And it was just like mind-blowingly, like I couldn't believe what I was hearing. And yeah, so he is interested with like hanging out with us. Like I said, Emeryville is right across the bridge from San Francisco. Yeah. And I go to school in San Francisco. So he was like, whenever you've got time, come down, come on the show, blah, blah, blah. And I don't want to spoil anything, but just keep a lookout for me on the show in September. And then in October, the Geeks of Color team, Jordan and Amber, are trying to come down for TwitchCon. And just look out for October as well, towards the end of October.
I will be in the chat then, as long as it's
Please,
not as long.
Please hype me up in the chat.
I that's one of the things, because my job lets me basically do whatever I want. I watch the Kind of Funny morning show and Kind of Funny Games daily live every single weekday. And they've been he's been saying for a while now that he's wanting to kind of find these newer faces out there to be like the next generation of Kind of Funny and whatever else, and just to shed some light on, hey, who else is out there doing some awesome things in gaming journalism and so on and so forth. So yeah, I most likely, as long as it's not September 7th, I will be in the chat there.
Why? What's September 7th?
SpiderMan on PS4.
Oh.
So I'm gonna be playing that all day, and I'm sure Greg will be too.
Well, Greg is very excited for Spider-Man Day, as am I. But you should maybe, wink nudge, have Kind of Funny Games Daily open on Spider-Man Day in the background while you're playing Spider-Man. Just a little wink nudge.
I will be sure to tune in.
Yeah, so that is still like, whenever it's mentioned to me, I just am like, me? No. So yeah, it's really cool that they are so close, and he was just like, oh my God, you're right there, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yes, I am. So he has been just so kind, and he is so willing to give back to the community, to anyone that wants to get started in games journalism or loves games. And he is just the greatest human ever. And I'm so excited to start this relationship with him and Kind of Funny and Geeks of Color, and just like do this whole thing all together. So thanks for mentioning that. That I was like, oh my God, yeah, he did say that.
Yeah. So I'm super excited about that as well. I kind of like, it's interesting for me because I look up to Kind of Funny and Rooster Teeth and stuff like that to be like, hey, that's kind of what I want to do. Like I have my degree in graphic design, and that's like the career stuff that maybe I want to do. But if I could really like live my dream, it'd be to just sit here and talk about comics and video games and all that stuff, and just do that, because it's so much fun to just sit here and get to geek out with people.
So fun. People are so passionate, and when you get to talk to someone else that's equally passionate, it's like magic.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, like with me and Eric's podcast, we recorded before this last arc, we recorded an episode on Saga, because we are an independent, like we want to focus on indie comics, whereas like Image is like sort of indie comics, but we were like, let's just start off with a bang, let's just talk about Saga, because who doesn't love Saga? And yeah, so we talked about it. And then I don't know if you guys read this last arc.
I'm not caught up. I read it in trade.
Not.
Oh my
Same.
God.
I have to wait till, what is it, October?
Something like that.
Are you waiting for the trade?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so I actually caught up on the trade right before this arc, and then what I usually do is like buy single issues in an arc and then read them after I have all of them, like all the way through. And then they were like, we're going on a little break, and I was like, how dare you?
Oh, no.
Yeah, and
why do you do this?
I've seen the cover image, and
it's very unsettling. It's a very unsettling image, and I was like, why?
I'm so like, I'm physically nervous and anxious, just to be like, oh God, something not good is coming.
I can't even
not ready.
Like, I can't even, please, like, I guess I'll talk to you guys about it in October, but it just equally
we'll reconvene
amazing,
in October.
Like, pre-break arc as like the rest of it, because Saga's just, an untouchable book, because I just, and yeah, but like that first episode where we were just talking about it, it's just me and Eric going back and forth, just hyping each other up, just like, yes, the art is amazing, yes, all the blah, blah. And it's just like, and I was like, yeah, it's basically us just fangirling over Saga, and then we're like, oh, and that's our time, goodbye.
Sounds
But
good.
Yeah, it's such a good series.
It's so stupid good. Even the ending of this last trade, or the trade before the last trade, I think 7,
Yeah.
like broke my heart into a million pieces, and I was like, okay. But yeah, it's just this one's gonna need a year to heal. So
No, don't
Get
say that.
to it.
I don't want to hear that.
And that
Get to
gives you time to like reread everything too. Once it finally comes back, you have that whole year-long intermission kind of thing to be like, okay, I'm gonna reread these. Maybe I missed something.
Yeah, and what I really love about single issues, and which is why I try to get single issues, is I love the letters at the end. And I love when the writer's just talking about, just reflecting on their own work and, explaining this choice or talking about this in the back. And it's like my favorite thing. And you kind of miss that when you read trades, which makes me very sad. But like so when it flips over to the letters section in that last issue, it's blank. And then the next page is like, I thought I'd just give you guys a moment to, and I was like,
I hate when they do shit like that. It's like,
I
I
was like,
know this broke your
why?
heart, but
yeah, they're like, sorry about that. See you later. And I'm like,
You
what?
know it. Why did you do it?
I know, right? Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
It's great though. It's really just such a great book.
yeah.
Yeah. I really like single issues, but when I was working at the comic shop, was a high school and then a college student, so I couldn't really keep up or afford them. And then now, like, my home comic shop that I worked in is in Lacey, which is another hour south of me, and so I just can't make it, and I refuse to find anywhere else to buy comics from because nowhere will ever be as good. It's the comic shop that Eric works at, in case anybody's wondering. It's called Gabby's Olympic Cars and Comics, and it's amazing. They just extended their second floor. They've got a cafe, a whole shebang.
I've been seeing pictures of them building it.
Fun fact about Kelly and Allison. That, like I said, I listened to, I was telling
You
Kyle
and I
that
were
listened to
talking,
Out of the
yeah.
Fridge. Yeah. And so love Out of the Fridge. That's kind of where I know Eric from. And then that kind of, he was just like, you want to do this independent comic podcast with me? And I was like, for sure. So yeah, I love them. I've never met them because I've never made it out to Seattle. I will at one point in my life because the weather is my cup of tea. So I have never met Kelly and Allison before, and they kind of did this whole giant trip through California recently, up and down California, and they went to Disneyland, and then they came up and they were like, hey, we're going to be in San Francisco. What, do you have any suggestions, blah, blah, blah. And so I was like, hey, one of my favorite places in the world is the Walt Disney Family Museum. That's over in the Presidio, which is right by the Golden Gate Bridge. For anyone that only knows San Francisco as having the Golden Gate Bridge. So it's over there, and I was like, if you want to continue your Disney fun times, you can go to that, and it's really great. It's a whole museum, chronicles his life from beginning to end, where he grew up, the creation of all these beautiful, beautiful, beautiful films, and they were like, done. We're so down for more Disney in our lives. And I was actually going to a talk there at the museum on the same day that they would be visiting. So I actually met them.
That's awesome.
Yeah, crazy stuff happens. Like, internet is crazy. And I was just like, holy crap.
It's like, I recognize you guys. I know who you are.
I was like, I know your voices. So yeah, meeting them was super cool, and they went around in the museum and absolutely loved it, and it was so great to see them. Yeah,
they took a picture. I don't know if it was at the museum or at Disneyland of them. It was Allison and Kelly with someone in the I don't know what you call it. I guess a costume. One of the workers there,
Character?
I imagine. Yeah, one of the characters was Max from the Goofy movie.
yeah.
And it was them taking a picture with him, and they posted it on Twitter, and I commented, man, and Andrew Chard looks different without the big beard. I was like, don't kill me, Andrew. It was really funny. I had to.
Oh my goodness.
See, so I think it's funny that, Belinda, that you like know of them / know them, because this whole time I've been like, she sounds kind of like Allison.
Oh my
Just a little
gosh.
bit
Yeah.
in my head. Yeah, it was really fun to work at the comic shop with them,
Yeah.
because I like didn't know what fridging was. I didn't know what podcasting was. I was a little baby, like 17-year-old volunteer, and then I got hired on when I was 18, and so it was just like, these are the coolest people ever.
I know.
And then I got to know Eric and changed my mind. No, just kidding. Eric's so great.
Yeah,
We
he's
just give each other
he's
an immense amount of shit.
he thinks he's too good to be on the podcast this week. He's filming a movie. So he's moved on. He's a big movie star now. He thinks he's too cool for us.
He's super too cool for us. I even asked him, I was like, hey, you want to record our next episode of our podcast after this podcast? And he's like, man, I just can't. I'm too cool. Like, don't have time for you. Like, can you call my assistant? She'll schedule you in.
Eric,
and I was
man.
like,
Which
all
would be
right. Yeah.
What a bitch.
I am the unpaid intern. Yeah, he didn't even hang out with me this week, but that's because he went on vacation for his birthday.
Yeah.
So, which
That's
sounds
cool.
great.
Happy belated
super
birthday
rad.
to Eric.
You're officially so old now, Eric.
Yeah. Let's see. I have one more thing. Kind of question that leads into a story that I have that I want to share. Actually, two stories that I want to share, but I'll save one for the end, because that one, it's kind of a non-story. It's something that happened that was really weird. Belinda,
Yes.
from following you on Twitter, I have noticed that you are a collector of the Great Gatsby books.
I am.
I am very curious about that.
So great.
First of all, why that book in particular?
I just remember I read it about junior year in high school, just like everybody usually does.
Yeah, that was me too.
Yeah, everybody knows the book, has heard of it, read through it, had to talk about it. I don't really know why. It was one of those things where it was sitting on the desk. I was like, wow, it's really pretty. And then I went to read it that night and then just blew through the whole thing. And something about it was just so beautiful and moving to me. And I fell in love with it, like head over heels, fell in love with it. I just remember we had to do actually it kind of sucked that I read through the whole thing, because like the whole like next couple months I had to just be like, I don't know what happens, don't ask me, and just like, man, what if this blah blah blah.
Your
And
theory's
I'll-
wrong. Your theory's wrong. Your
Yeah,
theory's wrong.
like nice try. That's not gonna happen. But like, something about it really just jumped out at me. It's the first time I had read Fitzgerald's work. And just his writing style really just resonated with me. Someone that just really loves adjectives and likes to describe things. And I don't know, I like really can't. It's one of those things where you find a piece of art that just speaks to you in like this like otherworldly way that just, and you just fall in love head over heels. And that's kind of where it started. And so that started all the group projects that we had to do on it. I was like, it's fine, I'll just do the whole thing. I know everything about the American dream now. And like all this stuff and like symbolism and themes and everything and like corruption and like everything was just, yeah. And so that was my favorite book. Then I was just like, yeah, it was really great. I liked it. Over time,
Yeah, when did you start collecting it then?
Yeah, so I would reread it from time to time, and it was one of those books that I kind of found something different every time I reread it, depending on like when in my life I was reading it. You know, sometimes it's what's really cool is some people are like, it's a romance. Some people are like, it's a tragedy. Some people are like, it's social commentary. And it's just like, it's a small book, but it's packed with like all these different things that people can take what they want from it. And I think that's really beautiful. And I went to a bookstore, and there was just another copy that looked different from my copy. And I was like, pretty, I want it. And then so
Ooh,
I got it. I actually, if you go back in my Instagram, there's a post from that specific day that I was like, wow, these two are really different. Maybe I'll start, like, one day I'll have the first, like, a first edition from 1925. And then that kind of, like, started it. And then I just, love old bookstores. So everywhere I go, I pop into an old bookstore, no matter where I am.
See if
there's shelves of books, I just go in. And then, I would just peruse and then be like, wow, this is another one that I've never seen. Oh, this is another one that I've never seen. And it just started it just kind of snowballed. And there are just so many different. I think my collection is almost about 90. So I'll be
Holy
hitting
shit.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and a big thing is that we don't realize that different countries publish things in different languages, and there's different, like overseas companies. So there's actually a website called Book Depository that's based in the UK, and the UK has their own like giant string of publishers, and their covers are super gorgeous and very different. And if you read, it's just so, I don't know. And I have all those different editions, and they're all different from each other, which is what blows me away. From the descriptions on like the flaps or like the back,
right,
or like some of them have extra stuff. Like I obviously have all the movie editions, both from the Robert Redford one and from the Leonardo DiCaprio one. My parents got me one when they were in Taiwan, so I'll never be able to read it, but god damn, it's gorgeous. I have another friend that got me some from Japan. My best friend got me a French one, an Italian one.
That's so awesome.
I had another friend get me one from Spain, and it's just it's such a classic book that it's been reprinted a lot, and with different publishers and different languages and different shapes and sizes. I have a miniature one that's from Germany. It fits in the palm of my hand, and it's the whole book. That one's my favorite now.
That's crazy.
It's nuts, and so I just
pretty handy.
Yeah, so every time I just step into a bookstore, I just grab one, or sometimes I'll just be online and look up editions of Gatsby, and then I'll be like, yep, that one's mine, and then I'll order it. Or, it's just something that I don't think there's like an end to it, and it makes me very happy. So
have you thought about diving into more than just the book and like props from the movie or scripts or stuff like that?
No, not really. I haven't went that deep into it. It was like the book that I had fallen in love with. I would love to get a copy of the script. I actually have a script so I also have a bunch of Fitzgerald books in general, because I like him as an author. I don't
really know what else he's written.
He only has like 5 books, but he has a bunch of short stories, like so many short stories.
Okay.
But yeah, he only published 5 books in his lifetime. The last one was published posthumously. But yeah, so he has a short story that got adapted into a film called The Curious Case of Benjamin Button.
Oh.
Have you heard of it? Yeah, so that's his short story that was adapted into a film. So I have that script booklet, actually.
Interesting. You can really start a museum.
I want to be like the largest collector of Great Gatsby's. And I think it's like a really like I collect a bunch of things. I collect like Disney mugs. I have a bunch of just really cool Disney mugs, and just little things like that. But I feel like Gatsby is something that kind of like defines me. Like people are like, oh yeah, like Gatsby this, Gatsby that. Send it to Belinda.
I wonder if you could get into like the Guinness Book of World Records for like the person with the most like numbers of copies of a single book, and they're all different.
That would be very cool. But I feel like there's got to be somebody and that has like a really classic book, like something like The Odyssey, or like something like
The
really,
Bible.
really, or the Bible. Oh, there you go. Yep, you just nailed it. I was like, I'm sure there's somebody out there that has like 1,000 copies of the Bible. I bet. But yeah, like I've actually like tried and like searched through the internet to see if anyone else is collecting Gatsby's and taking them from me, but I have not found it. So I'm just gonna keep quiet until I have
Scoping
like
out the competition.
yeah, I know. I'm just yeah, so like actually like a goal of mine is to kind of have like an online community where I know like a lot of people in different places, because I'm sure there are amazing copies in like a very small bookstore in like India, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That I will never be able to get to, but maybe someone goes there every day and they're, you know, and maybe they listen to this podcast and they're like, wow, let me check it for her, and then see it. And they're like, do you have this one? I'm like, no.
Of the
And then
12
like,
people that listen to this podcast.
or, you know, you never know, right?
does,
but yeah, it's kind of my favorite thing. It just, there is no greater feeling than like I walk into a bookstore, first thing I stop by is F in fiction or literature, wherever it is. And
F
just
fiction.
check it out. F fiction. And like it's funny because I've gotten used to, you know, the authors that surround Fitzgerald. So there's Penelope Fitzgerald, and there's Flaubert, and there's like
Flaubert.
Yeah, Flaubert. And
There's a
there's
name.
Fielding, and like all these words, and I'm like, maybe I should check them out one day since I see them all the time.
One day.
Yeah, but yeah, it's like my favorite collecting thing, just because other people think it's really unique too.
It is.
And if you ever find yourself in Northern California, come over and I'll stand in front of it and be like, this is this, and this is this one, and this is this one, and this is this. I should just make a video, and then so everybody can see it, and I'll like go
you should
through
start
all
charging, and this is the unofficial mini museum tour. Yeah.
That's a good idea. All right, come back to me in like a couple years, and I'll have everything in glass cases. And,
There you go. After you get the poster frames for everything else.
Exactly. Right? It'll happen.
So I have a bit of a weird story to share with you guys, kind of about the Great Gatsby. And I totally forgot this happened to me until I started following you on Twitter. And I was like, oh yeah, The Great Gatsby. I remember that book. So, Jess, you've read this book, right? Or have you seen the movie or something?
I think I read it in college, actually,
Okay.
because I did Running Start, and so I took some different classes. But I remember reading it, and I saw the Leo DiCaprio movie.
So I really don't remember anything that happens in this book. I couldn't tell you what it's about. But I remember reading it in high school. And it was, I think my sophomore year that I read the book, if I'm not mistaken. But I was never a huge fan of school. I just kind of skated by. I was like, I'm going to be in art school, so most of this academic stuff I don't really care about all that much. The only somewhat academic thing was like the creative writing stuff like that, because that's art too, you know. But we read this book, The Great Gatsby, and it was one of those things where like the school has a whole bunch of copies, and you sign out on a sheet which numbered copy you have.
Mm-hmm.
And so we read the book. We did our like 2-week unit on the book, and then we moved on, and that was that. I went to college, and I want to say it was either my freshman or sophomore year. I get a package in the mail, and I was like, okay, that's strange. Like, I didn't buy anything from Amazon. I don't know what this is or who sent it. And there was there was return address, but it was like a non-return address. If that makes sense. It was like it came from this location, but it's not in like an actual address. And I was like, I don't recognize this. I don't know what it is. So I opened it up, and it was a book, and it was The Great Gatsby.
Oh my God.
And I was like, who is this from? Like, what the hell? And I open it up, and I start looking at it, and it's the copy that I had in high school.
Oh my gosh.
It had the same notes, like the pencil notes that someone else had written in the book. I was like, I remember these. It's like, this is the same book that I had in high school. This is so weird.
Oh my goodness.
And I was waiting for someone to like message me on Facebook to be like, hey, the school was selling these books. I got one. I found the one that you had. Here's, no one said anything.
Oh my gosh.
And so I tried to do some research on the return address, and it was more of a company that had like sent the book. And I looked up this company. There was nothing about them on the internet. I finally found somewhat of an address, and I looked it up on Google Earth. The thing, there's nothing there.
Oh
it's
my
an empty
gosh.
field. And
that is so frightening.
Yeah, to this day, I have the copy, and I have no idea who sent it to me or how they knew like where I lived at the time. Like,
so weird.
I mean, I guess my English teacher then could have contacted the school to get some kind of information, but even still, it's like, why would they go to such lengths to mail me this book that I don't even remember what happened and was like not particularly fond of?
You have it still, right?
Yeah, it's right here in my hands.
Oh my God, that's magical.
Have you read it again since you received it in case there's like any secret messages?
I've like skimmed through it to see if there was something like mentioning me, but I don't think so. I've not actually gone back to reread the thing. Most of the reading that I do is comic books, so unfortunately I'm not much of an actual book reader.
So
This is
wild.
the start of like a treasure map. Like, this doesn't just happen.
It really is. I have no idea. So if one of our 12 listeners out there is the person that sent this to me, and you are also the competition buying up these books from Belinda, you should expose yourself and...
Who are you?
Yeah. Who are you, damn it?
Oh my God, that's so cool. That is so cool. So I would have read it right away. This is a sign that they know that you didn't read it
Maybe I
or
should.
remember it.
Yeah.
And you must read it again. It is like, I would say, because it's a book that you study in school, so it's a school book. So I'm not going to I don't recommend The Great Gatsby to everybody. I'm not like, you should read this because, not a lot of people want to be reading classic literature at all times. But I would have read it right away because it just was mysteriously sent. Oh my gosh, that blows my mind.
I was just
I'm like,
so creeped out that like I don't want to touch this thing.
It's a key to a safe deep in the earth that you are supposed to discover.
Yeah, I mean, like,
in 10 years.
there are notes, like lines are underlined. I'm at the end of page 85, which is the end of chapter 4. and their note is, "Go for it, kiss the girl." You know, I don't know what any of this means, but it's like Gatsby has ulterior motives. Maybe
you
didn't
had
really do this.
A secret admirer in high school, and so like assuming that it's underlined, I'm gonna assume it's a girl. Maybe there was this girl that had this huge crush on you and saw that was the book that you had and like stayed in contact with you through Facebook or something, and then sent it and are underlining that kind of thing to like be weird and let you know that they're into you.
It's totally something I would do. So yeah, 100% something I would do.
If Belinda ever sends someone a book,
it was me.
It's got code.
It has a secret code confessing her deep love for whoever receives the book.
Yep. That is exactly how I do it.
Here's something else that's underlined. He owned some drugstores. A lot of drugstores.
You should go to some drugstores and be
Someone
like, "Did you send me
trying to drug me?"
Yeah, that or they think you're on drugs.
Yeah. Who knows?
That's so wild.
So
I've got.
mysterious.
This is reminding me of two different things because one, I just watched the movie on Netflix today, To All the Boys I've Loved Before, which is so cute.
So cute.
And it's this girl, it's this Asian girl, she's in high school. She writes these 5 letters to boys that she used to like, or does. She writes them at the time that she likes these boys. And at the time of her doing the movie happening, she doesn't like any of them but one anymore. And then those letters get out. And so like this is making me think of that in like, you know, elaborate ways to let people know you care. Like she wrote them and she addressed them, but she never meant to send them. But it was like her way to like let it out that like I care about you deeply. And it's also reminding me of a book called I Am the Messenger by Marcus Zuzak. He wrote my favorite book, which is The Book Thief.
The Book Thief.
Yeah, I have like 5 copies of that one. Not 90, but 5.
You're getting there.
They reproduce them, and you're just like, that one's really pretty.
I've got the original, I've got the movie cover, I've got a hardback that I got from Powell's, and I have one that's specifically like that I lend out.
That's
and
how it starts.
Has, like, my
Exactly.
notes.
Yep.
Next thing you know, cocaine.
Copy. Yep.
But he wrote this other book called I Am the Messenger, and it's this really interesting story. It takes place in Australia, where he's from, of this kid who I can't even remember the main character's name. It's told from a first-person point of view, but he helps stop a bank robbery, and he gets a playing card in the mail because he plays this one card game with his friends. And
speaking of bank robberies, I have a story to tell after this too.
Oh God!
Speaking of bank robberies, okay. But like this card has instructions, and I think the first card, they're just addresses, and so he goes to each address, and there's something for him to do, and then when he completes that one, he gets another card, and it has different clues, and there is Saga, stop eating that plant. Sorry, I have a cat.
Named
eating
Saga?
One of our... Yes, his name is Saga.
Is he the quenchiest?
Yes, I would love to talk about my cat.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, anyway, so he gets these cards, and he's tasked to do these different things to make the world better, and one of those things is he gets a card that has different names on it that are books, and then in these books there are pages that are underlined, and as well as words, and so he has to like, those are the addresses, so you never know, it could totally be something that like intense. Really good book, by the way.
Who knows? I'll finally have to go read this eventually and figure it out, see if there's a code to unlock.
There's totally a code somewhere. I'm like, it's going to invade my thoughts for a long time. I'm just going to send you a message like at 3 a.m. be like, what if? Like, come on. It's your superhero origin story. You're supposed to rescue someone whenever you got it. Like,
send us your best theories. Comment on YouTube what you guys think what really happened. That's what I want to know.
That is so interesting. Also, to All the Boys I've Loved Before, it's just so precious. Like, it's a very precious romantic comedy, and I loved it. And I just want to say that it was so cute.
There you go.
I just turned my screen back on for the people who are actually making the podcast, so you can see my cat and also my boyfriend.
Sorry I love orange cats. Oh my god.
Yeah, Sokka's my little baby. He's almost 2.5 years old, but not quite. And he's just about 12 pounds, and he's a very handsome cat.
Oh my
He's a very handsome boyfriend, and
He's
he's focusing more
like-
on the cat. Yeah,
Oh my
he's so
gosh.
spoiled. Look at him.
Amazing.
Oh my goodness gracious. So cute.
He's purring. I don't know if you can hear it, but he's purring. He's
Oh
full of
my
bees.
gosh.
I've got him near my mic, so that might have.
I
picked up.
want a cat so bad. Oh, also, nice Jen Bartel Wonder Woman behind your head right now.
Thank you.
I have oh shit, I have that. And I have the Girl Gang one with all the Star Wars girls. I love it.
Yeah, I've got some for pins too. But so there's a funny story about this Jen Bartel Wonder Woman. There's a tiny little scratch on it right here because when we were getting ready to move, we had it in this frame and the window was open that it was leaning against and it fell and all the glass cracked.
Oh no.
So my wonderful, and I like cried because it's only a tiny scratch, but it wasn't on her web store anymore. And so I was like, I can't get another perfect one, and I need to have I need to have a perfect one. And so I'm like crying on the couch, and my boyfriend's like, well, did you check her store? And I'm like, yes, I checked her store. And then a couple weeks later, we were like in the car, and he grabs the mail, and there's this tube, and there's another piece of mail, and he's like, oh yeah, we'll just open them later. And then we get home, and he's like, hey, I got you something, and he hands me this tube. And I couldn't immediately tell what it was because when Jen Bartel sends stuff from her store, it's got like the name of the distributor, not her name. Mm-hmm. And so I open it, and it was a brand new print. He had emailed her like,
wow.
like, hey, here's what happened.
Oh, fuck my life. I love that.
Yeah, and then she had contacted her
That's awesome.
warehouse manager, and they had found one, and it was one of the sweetest things that's ever been done for me. So I have 2 copies of that,
freaking
actually.
cute.
That
The other
is.
one is up, and it doesn't have glass in the frame.
I'm trying not to curse, but I'm really happy.
You can curse all you want on here.
It's real fucking cute.
Yeah, I mean, I do a podcast with Eric. Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's so cute. I'm so happy.
Yes, I podcast in my nerd room.
That's
I love
awesome.
it.
Lots of nerdy stuff that nobody can see because it's a podcast.
Maybe we'll video soon.
One day, yeah, we'll get videos back up once we have
Be
things
like,
figured
welcome
out.
to my nerd MTV. Welcome to my crib.
Yeah.
Cute.
Just wondering.
Oh
There
my
you go.
god. That is the cutest freaking story I have ever heard. I love it so much. It makes me
Yay.
so happy.
It makes me really happy too. I was like over the moon. I was like, that's so sweet.
That's really cool of her to do too. Like,
Yes. Yeah.
super cool.
I definitely tweeted and was like, I don't know how you found this, but thank you. And then she's like, oh, it was my excellent warehouse manager who she like tagged. And I was like, thank you so much. And now I follow them both. And, yeah.
So are you keeping the new one like safe in like a
Yes.
area and then framing the scratched one just in case it decides to fall out a window again?
Yes. So the new one is actually still like in the tube because we were going to move. So I like pulled it out, put it back in. The old one doesn't have the glass in the frame. So in case like Sokka tries to claw something or whatnot, it's the one we're going to keep it up in case it gets more banged up and find a really nice frame for the new one and then put that up.
Yeah. I have a couple of like Cyclops prints art things because I order a lot of stuff from Cyclops prints and Mondo. Mondo's actually one of my favorite places to get art from. And I have like an Incredibles one and a Toy Story 3 one that are still in the tubes, safe and sound because I moved and I was like, no one's touching these. And those for sure need to be in frames. Like I am not putting them up without frames. And so those are still in tubes waiting to be put up one day, eventually.
Someday.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny how that happens. You're like, I love this, but I need to protect it, so therefore nobody can see it.
Exactly. But also, they're weird sizes. So that's always fun to deal with when looking for frames, because they are very odd sizes. Like, they're more like strips and not like full, like, square rectangles.
Oh.
So that's the fun part, is trying to find a frame that fits them.
There you
Yeah,
go.
framing is fun.
Yeah.
I have a question to ask you guys. It's a bit of change of subject. If you guys were to rob a bank, how would you do it? Or would you rob a bank? Would you rob something else? Like what store would you rob?
Oh man.
Like, Belinda, are you gonna rob the Disney store so you can take all of the Disney paraphernalia that you can find?
Yeah, it'd be a Disney store, or it'd probably be the big giant Disney store in downtown Disney, if I'm being honest. I'm just kidding.
So there you go.
Or like a bookstore.
Any Disney employees, listen up. Her name is Belinda Garcia.
No, I'll literally be there in a week, and they're all gonna look at me.
It's her, swarm.
We have to watch out for her. It'll just all be like stuffed animals and like mugs.
Yeah. I don't think I would rob a bank because, one, that sounds incredibly hard, and two, like they like mark the money. They know they always get the money back. I think I would rob the Funko Pop store because here's the thing: is my first answer was like a comic shop, and then I was like, no, those are always little. Like I can't do that to them. I can only rob like a big store, like a chain, a big company, because I don't really want to mess with somebody, and I feel like Funko's big enough. And I would just take like all the Harry Potter pops.
And
like, how are they going to track that?
So
like a prosthetic mask and just.
I've never bought a Funko Pop, but I just saw this past week that they're releasing Funkos of the Runaways, and I was like, oh god, I think I understand now.
When I get to cosplaying again, it will be Nico, and mark my words, because she's very special to me. In my heart.
Yeah,
she's
like
so great.
My favorite comic.
I love.
They're also releasing Avatar Pops, and definitely going to buy the Saga one, and then just like put it next to my cat. Which like gets really confusing for some people. For Halloween at work, I dressed up as Saga the character, and everybody was like, so you're going to dress up as your cat? And I was like, no.
The cat is named after the character. Come on, you guys. Avatar The Last Airbender.
Which is, I think, we're going to dress Saga the cat up as Saga the character this year, because turns out it's super easy. Cats fit in toddler clothes, so we can just get him a blue tank top, and like, boom.
I've actually been rewatching The Last Airbender recently, because one of my friends is actually watching them for the first time. So we're like mirror watching them and like writing emails to each other.
So good.
Just kind of like me reflecting on, I had watched it like when I was much, much, much younger, and then he's watching it for the first time, and just kind of like comparing those two things, and then like kind of like comparing them to, what it's like now, or like, kind of just the themes that are surrounding these things, and how like really freaking awesome it is. And so that's been sort of an experience, and just rewatching, I'm just like, the show is like still great. Like,
it's amazing.
It's
like so great, and so like, I can't believe I watched this like when I was in high school and watched it. I was like, yeah, I like it. It's really cool. And now I'm watching it as like a student and as an artist, and being like, whoa, like it was like really, really, really amazing. Just seeing it in a different lens.
Yeah.
Now that I'm older. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
I didn't even.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say real quick that, like, I didn't watch Avatar as a kid. My family did, but we had one of those minivans that had the drop-down TV, and I get super car sick. Oh, no. So I'd always just, like, go to sleep. And then I met my boyfriend Cody in college, and he was like, no, you have to watch this. And I was like, okay, it's probably going to be okay. And now I love it so much that I named my cat the love of my life after one of the characters, because it's that good.
Oh, my God.
Amazing. I think if I were to rob a store, I think a bank would actually be the most fun, but I think I would go for something practical. Like, I would rob like a furniture store and just like decorate my house. Be like, I'm gonna get a nice bed frame.
Maybe after you get the things. Not practical when you're trying to get the stuff out the door.
It's gonna be like Ocean's 28. I'm gonna have a whole team of people. They're gonna be moving things out. It's gonna be fantastic. No, so I ask for two reasons. One, I started watching a Netflix show like a week or two ago. It's all in Spanish. The English name is Money Heist, which is a terrible name.
Oh God. Yeah.
But the Spanish name is La Casa de Papel, and it's a heist story about this guy who gets a team together to rob the mint of Spain. And instead of stealing the plates, they go in there and lock themselves in and just run the machines. Like they take all the workers hostage and just have them run the machines, and they're literally just printing money the more they're in there. I'm like, that's genius. That's fucking amazing. And he has this whole scheme of like, here's how it's actually gonna work, and by the time we're done, like the populace of Spain will love us. Like they'll think we're heroes, like all of this stuff. And it's been fascinating. But on top of that, so I work for a university, and I work downtown in Richmond, and we got an email that from like the front door receptionist who was like, hey, so be careful because the bank across the street just got robbed, and they haven't caught the guy yet.
Oh.
So
Okay.
yeah, it was like, huh, that's not a work email. How am I supposed to respond to that? I've never been in any kind of situation near where that's happened. Like I've seen accidents happen, like car accidents. It's like, oh shit, you have to look, or just like getting the campus alerts of like, hey, there was like some kind of sexual assault thing that happened on campus. We're monitoring this situation. But an actual bank robbery, like that just seems so like surreal to me. Like that doesn't actually happen in real life. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
They do in the movies.
I know, or comics, right?
Yeah.
Rob Bank.
Like, it
Or
just
The
doesn't make
Incredibles.
sense.
I just like it's one of the things, like I'm a huge crime story fan, so I like all those heist films, and like, here's how we're gonna rob the bank, and here's the plan, I just like I always feel like in real life it would never ever work out like that.
I know, right? Yeah.
Like there's no way that this type of stuff can actually happen.
Yeah.
Because this is just a writer, and I like being an artist myself. I know artists and writers don't get paid very much. If you can actually come up with a scheme to rob a bank that good, why aren't you robbing the bank? So
Yeah, because
I don't know, weird stuff.
I feel like I think every time I've seen, like, in the news, a bank get robbed somewhere, the suspect always gets caught, like, a couple of days later because they try to spend the money, and they immediately start tracking those serial numbers because they're a bank, and they can do that, and they know like, they keep a real good track of that shit.
Yeah.
And so it's just like, even if you could successfully pull it off, why would you do it? Because you can't spend the money.
Yeah.
It's like, what's the point?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what's so genius about this Money Heist show is, like, the bank hasn't even touched this money yet. They don't know what the serial numbers are. Like, they won't be able to track this stuff. And the longer we're trapped in here, the more money we make. So it's like, huh, that's kind of interesting. Don't get any ideas, kids. Stay in school. But yeah, so fascinating stuff. Fascinating stuff.
My new favorite show is on Hulu. It is one that that Cody and I are obsessed with. We made our roommate watch it with us. We're trying to get everybody else obsessed with it. Huh?
Is it that new Castle Rock or whatever it's called?
No, it's called Letterkenny, and it is this
heard of it.
Canadian show that it's just wildly hilarious. And what it is that Letterkenny is a small town of about 5,000 people, and it's made of Hicks, Skids, who are the meth addicts, Christians, and hockey bros. And it's just fucking hilarious. And I would recommend that everybody watch it. The first 2 seasons are on Hulu. They're like 30-minute episodes each.
Oh my goodness.
But if you're not sure you might be into it, just watch the, like, if you Google or YouTube Letterkenny Cold Open, you'll find this amazing cold open that is their first ever, like, first season, first episode cold open. And it's just the 2 main guys. There's also farmers. The 2 main guys are farmers. They have such a good back and forth. And they just, like, make super fun of these hockey players.
Oh my goodness.
And Cody and I actually love it so much that we're going to be the hockey bros for Halloween. 'Cause we're already
Nice.
thinking about that. And they say things like wheel sniped sellies and dirty fucking dangles and things like that Cody and I just like parrot at each other all the time. And I'm sure everybody else is like, what is wrong with these guys? But it's so fun and so funny.
Interesting.
So that's been my new obsession. But yeah, it just follows a little small town.
It's
They
like
own a fruit stand.
it's like small town comedy kind of thing, or is there
Yeah.
more of a drama plot thing?
It's more comedy. The plot of the main season is the main guy, Wayne, who is a farmer. His girlfriend of like 5 years cheats on him and breaks up with him. And she had taught him not to fight when previously he'd been the toughest guy in Letterkenny. So the first season is kind of about him like regaining that title. And then the second season is more about like his love life. So it's got little underlying plots.
Okay.
But it's just like every episode touches on, you know, each set of characters, and they all kind of interact. So like there's the farmer guys, and then the farmer guys have Wayne has a sister who is bisexual, which is super great for me because I am bisexual, and it's Canada, so it's very like chill. It's not like, oh, hey guys, it's just like she goes into a bathroom with a girl and then comes out wearing that girl shirt, that kind of thing. And I was just like, I love this. But like she at one point is dating both the hockey players, and so then like that's how you get the hockey players involved, and it's really good. But yeah, just follow this like little small town. It started, I think, as a YouTube show,
Interesting.
and it's hilarious. It's so great. It's very good. So that's my new show
That's cool.
obsession.
Sounds good. I don't want to keep you guys too long. We've been recording for about an hour and a half now, and we started half an hour
Okay.
later than we normally do. So I say we wrap it up there and call it a night.
Okay. Sounds good
Yeah.
to me.
Sounds good. I do have a little bit of housekeeping to share with everyone here. Let's see. First things first, our RSS feeds have been fixed. If you guys have been previously subscribed to the Whatnauts by the Whatnauts on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts, that feed is no longer going to be updated as of mid-September. So I think by the time this comes out to the public, I think you'll have 2 weeks to go subscribe to the right things. In your podcast app, you can still search for the Whatnauts, and all of our podcasts will pop up there. There's one for the review show, there's one for the Captain's Log, there's one for Reactor Core, and then once we get both Questionable Commentary and Indie Focus Pod up and running, those will have their own RSS feeds as well, so you guys can subscribe to all of them, or you can pick the ones you guys want to listen to. So yeah, 2 more weeks to go subscribe to those, and this I say this one, but I don't know which feed you're actually listening to this on. I know as of like a week or 2 ago, like literally 100% of you were on the old one. So hopefully you guys can get that fixed in time. I kind of mentioned that last week we didn't have an episode of the Captain's Log, or that we recorded one and it didn't happen. We've actually not had an episode of the Captain's Log for the past 2 weeks, so apologies for that. Hopefully everything goes smooth with this one. It sounds like it will. especially after finally figuring things out and all of our technical difficulties this time. Things have run smooth while we were recording, so that's a good sign. Last but not least, our episode on the podcast called Bubble. It's an audio drama comedy from the Maximum Fun Network. That was on we did an episode on the review show covering that podcast, and that was a lot of fun. Go check it out. And shortly after this comes out, the next episode of the review show with me and Jess will be coming out. Fingers crossed with that one, that we won't have technical difficulties with that. But yeah, that is it for housekeeping. Jess, where can everyone find you? What are you working on? What do you want to plug?
Yeah, so my Twitter handle has changed just a tiny bit before, or since last time, which didn't go out to anybody because I don't like going by my full name. So it is, you can find me on Twitter at Legend of Jess with a underscore in between legend and of and after of and before Jess, because Legend of Jess without underscores is taken.
Damn.
So that's me. And then I am working with Eric on Questionable Commentary, which will come out in September, I believe. And that is Questionable Co 5 on Twitter as well. We didn't pick that name.
There you go. Belinda, what about you?
Me, I am on Twitter at BBC Garcia. It is my initials, just like J.R.R. Tolkien. It's literally just my name. I'm on there. I'm also on Instagram, same handle. You can find stuff on Geeks of Color at Geeks of Color. That's where we will be posting any gaming news. They also post a bunch of like pop culture news and such like that. That's where you can also find Game Boys of Color, which is our podcast there. And then Eric and I's Indie Comics podcast will be releasing, I think, around the same time. And Jess and Eric's podcast will be releasing, and you can find that at Indie Focus Pod on Twitter as well.
Cool.
But yeah, that's pretty much where you'll find me.
And you guys can yell at me on the interwebs at Hush315 on Twitter. And I am the man behind the mask of the Whatnauts on Twitter. All of our shows will have updates on that channel, but we do have a few of them, as you ladies mentioned, that are specific for the podcasts as well. So yeah, go check out some of the stuff on thewhatnauts.com. If you guys like this show or any of the other podcasts that we do, you guys can head over to patreon.com/thewhatnauts and throw us a buck. Give us your hard-earned money so we can make bigger and better shows for you. If not, that's A-okay. We want you to enjoy the show no matter what. But if you guys could also help us out and tell a friend or something, tweet about us, share our episodes. That would help out a lot. And yeah, that being said, this is the Captain's Log episode 19, and I guess we will see you guys next week. Adios, guys.
Bye.
Bye.